Okay, so today we're looking at recycling Christmas cards. This is usually a class that is so oversubscribed. I've had to do it in a couple of goes before, so this is an ideal way to do it online. So there are some cards that you don't want to destroy, and there's some you want to completely keep. So anything that has had an awful lot of work gone into it, like this cross stitch one, I would put aside because I like to keep those. So let's have a look at these. I have beside me a selection of dies, and I have only picked sort of straightforward shapes. Okay, so take your dies and just put your dies across and see what comes out of the picture. Now, if I do this one, I've got a selection of birds. I can get the star in that top corner, and I've also got left this one here, which I would have a bigger rectangle, and I would get the bird in and the word. That would make me a complete card, and so would this. So let's just have a look. Also, I've got in here the manger. Okay, so what if I lose one of the birds there? I get a bigger bit of the star. Now this bit here, I can just get the manger in. Let me take another one just to show you it needs to be a bit bigger than that. Let's try that one. Right, so you can see from this one card I'm going to get a star, the doves going through here, and I can make out this bit here with another rectangular die cut off like that. That's another card. So that's having a look at that card, particularly split into two. I like to check the back of the card too and see if there's any little pictures either inside here or on the back, and there's not. So that card is going to make us two pictures, two new cards. I haven't actually gone through and sorted these cards. This is exactly as they come. Right, this one's a lovely one, which has given 4 panels. Technically, I could take those 4 panels off and make 4 cards. However, I recognise this pattern of backing paper that's been used here, and I know that I've got matching backing papers, so I can extend that. Okay, so this one's been made for me, so no picture on the back, no picture in the middle. Okay, so I can use any bits off here. I could cut that one out if I didn't want to use the whole bit. Right, I could cut this into a square rather than a rectangle. And I've also then got a matching piece I could put a greeting on to go underneath. Okay, so put that one to one side. This one's a little bit difficult to cut out unless I used a triangular die. That would look attractive. I could add jewels to it. I could take this greeting off and mount that one up as well. It's a little bit tight to the tree, but I'm sure I could do something, or take off the whole picture and remount it with perhaps red in as a mat. It's got a lovely bit that catches the light of gold, so a gold surround around it would look good. Okay, so we might look at that one later on. This one's been done by hand, and I've got 4 pictures. Now I could change that. I could do 3 down in a line and 1 picture inside the card, or on the back of the card. Okay, so I could make a nice DL out of that and completely change it. This one, I don't think there's anything much I can do with that one unless, let's see, unless I was to die cut it in a circle and then add gold and perhaps a bit of red to pick that up. So I think I would choose a die that's slightly bigger than that, so I get more of the picture in it. Okay, so that's one that's worth having a look at. This one was from Ruth, and she's put an awful lot of work into it, so I would probably keep that one. But if I was going to do it into another card, all I would do, I think, is cut this off around the edge and add another gold layer to it. But that one is probably going aside for a keepy. This one here, I'm actually not too keen on it. I think I would be more likely to cut out pieces of the background that I could mount up. So I could choose the star. I could go, if I go to there, I could then come back and get a piece of this with the star in the corner. I could come down here. I would think I would have to go for just a piece down there with the snow on it. But I could also then get a larger rectangle and I could take the season's greetings off. All these can be done by hand, of course. It's according to what you've got, but I would take that completely off and have that as a greeting that I can mount up. This is a beautiful one, and really nothing else to do to that except I might cut it off around the edge, put an extra gold on it, and I might just add a jewel to that star that's up there. But that's beautiful. It stands on its own, and to use it I'd just add a bit of gold. This one here, excuse me, let's see if I've got a bigger, no, I haven't got a bigger square with me at the moment, but I think I would take off a large square off to that and then pick up the colours of this sort of an apricot-y colour, or even a black around it to pick up the black here, and I might put a clear jewel on his eye that shines through the black underneath, so it looks a little bit 3D. Okay. This one here, I would probably just cut out the jumper and use that along with some other bits. The Happy Christmas is split, so that's not easy to get to use as a greeting, and I've got plenty of others on my other cards. Okay, it's worth laying out your cards to see if something from one card will go onto another one. This one here, I'm not sure I'd use. I'm not a fan of glitter, and especially glitter that comes off, but I know it's been done by a child, so I would probably just put that one to one side there. This one here, we've got a piece of ribbon on it, but the ribbon is really stuck down well, so there's not really any chance of recycling that one. The bow itself will come off, so I could recycle that bit. But to take this off, and let's have a look. I could lose the tower on the church and still get a nice picture on there. If I was to cut out the whole lot, I'm not really doing much to change it. And on these, I like to be able to think that I can change them enough to send them back to the person that sent it me in the first place, and they would never recognise it. So I think I would pull that down there, die cut that, and then possibly look at die cutting the Christmas blessings off the top there and remount that as a card. This one, mince pies, not sure. So I would probably look at just rescuing the Merry Christmas from that. Okay. This one, a lot of work's gone into this one. And again, I don't see the point of taking it apart. I would probably just cut it off around the edge and then send it mounted onto another card. All right, so there's so much work gone into it. All these little leaves, I think, have been put on separately and around the edge. So you could bring the size down if you wanted to, but I think that one I would recycle. This one is another one that's beautiful. The little circle will come off, and I could put another picture inside, but again, I think that one is a good standalone card, and I would probably save that for ideas and things. This one, every year from this person I get the Black Labrador, so I can either take this like this and cut that out. Now, if we were to cut that one out, that one is not just necessarily Christmas. I could use that for a birthday card or something like that, or thinking of you, and it still gives me the robin that I could use right on a card. So there we go. I could even cut the robin out and mount that onto another card as part of an embellishment. So this one has got a tiny little picture on the back, so I would cut that out and save that and probably put it just on the back of the card. Right, this one here, let's have a look at some of the circles that I've got. That looks about right. So there you go. That begs you to cut a circle from that if I cut the circle from that, I could, if I'm careful, I can just get a Merry Christmas out of that. I'm not suggesting this is the right size. I'm just giving you an idea of how it could come together. So I would cut that out, mount a little bit of silver on the background, and then I've got a greeting to put on another card. That's a pretty scene. This one, again, another lot of work's gone into this one. If I wanted to, I could just take off these and let those stand alone so that they're on another card. It's a beautiful background, and the person that sent it, right, has not written on this panel. So what I could do is to cut that off, use that inside another card, and if I peel this off carefully, right, I can put something else onto there or leave that as it is. And if we went back to this card and I took the time to cut out this robin, then the robin could go up here, sat next to the greeting. Okay, so that could be on the front of a card, and it depends how damaged this is when I take it off, but that's a beautiful one and lots of different elements I can use. Oh, Prosecco, ho ho, what fun. This one has a tiny jewel on it, which of course I can use, and I'm not a big lover of the sentiment on there, but if I was to take this off here, I can then move that jewel to wherever I want, and this makes quite a nice background that I can put another picture on. Okay, even right, so there's a possibility of cutting that out and superimpose that onto there. So we will have a look at some of these that I've made changes to. This one is a lovely one, nothing on the back. This one I would purely cut off here. You could mount it as a bigger circle than that, but it's okay as a square. So I would just chop that out, pick up some of the colours in Mats and Layers, and then put that to one side. This was a little pocket that had a gift card in it. So if I look at that, I could easily die cut that, sending you a Christmas wish, and that would be quite acceptable as a card in itself. Obviously pick up the copper or the black or both, right, and that would be lovely. Just got a little hole in the back. This one was from a hotel we stayed at some time ago. Those were the days, and I don't think, with Sidmouth written across the bottom of it and Merry Christmas across the top, I don't think there's an awful lot that I could take out of that. But it's one that would go into a pile as to maybes. And here I've got another lovely card. It's got this embellishment which I can probably peel off and use. This one, and it's got beautiful bits, a background still that I could die cut and use. Okay, so that's got a lot of standalone pieces on it, and we'll see what I come up with some of the ideas. Okay, So that's showing you how to look at your cards. Oh, this one's got a handmade with love on the back. Thank you, Helen. So let's take a look at what I can do with those, and we'll see where we go from there. Right, but do check your cards carefully. Always check the backs to see if there's an extra little picture. And one of the other things before we finish on this part of the video is check the verses. Okay, I like to cut out the verses and stick them into a book or copy them out into a book, and then you've always got a wealth of verses. So if you had a book that had sections in it like birthday, birth, Christmas, whatever, stick them in the appropriate section, and you've always got a reference then to go through. Oh, I need a verse for so and so. Okay, so that's a real good extra bit. So when you've finished cutting all the bits you want from the cards, just look through the verses and see if there's anything that really touched you and that you can use for somebody else. Okay, that's part one, and we'll be back looking at some of the things that we make. Okay, so I've decided to do this video slightly differently, and I've already gone ahead and started working on this one, but what I wanted to do was split the video, so I show you what I start with, and then I will stop the video and edit it later on so that you see the starting off one and where I go from there with it. So here we have the picture that I have cut out with a die, and I've then put on a copper, and it's got a copper with a bit of a sparkle that's going to match these trees. And then I've also taken a matte black here, so that I've put that on there, and I've cut that with fancy scissors. There are times where you're not going to have the exact right size of die, so do be prepared to come in with your fancy scissors. So from that one little pocket that held a gift card, just tuck that in there. We now have one complete new card. Okay, so that's number one in my stash for later this year. Right. The next card we're going to look at, I think I will take this one. Okay, so not a lot to change about that one, but I think we're going to cut it off at that point, and that is what I will work with next. So here I have the picture. I've cut it down to 5 inches square, and I started looking at my box and decided I'd pick up the green for a start. I did try yellow and that wasn't very nice, and I also picked up the blue on here, so I picked this darker blue here. But I also wanted to pick up the black because that always makes it jump off the page, and I decided, changing my pictures around, that I just liked the blue and the black. Okay, so I'm going to look at that like that because you're not looking at the whole picture, and I want something to just make it sparkle. So I'm going to look at a silver sparkle bit to add to it. Okay, so I'm going to come up with this bit here, which is a nice sparkly bit, and then it's work out where the layer is going to go. So just play around with the layers, and I think that is where I'm heading with that. I want the black to be next to the white background so it makes it jump off the page. Okay, so put those to one side. I'm just doing a demonstration on a few of the cards, and then I will come back at the end and show you the results of what I've done with the rest. So there we have the first layer. You can take a lot more time over it. Okay. Keep all the bits because you may want to die cut a greeting to go on it. Or last year I was trying not to put greetings on my cards so that when I knew what I wanted the card for, then I could add the greeting at the last minute. It has been quite good doing that. That technique. And the last one I'm going to do with fancy scissors. You can carry on doing plain if you wish, but it's always good to keep your hand in practicing. So I'm going to leave myself a lot more room for the scissors to hold on to, and I'm going to just cut this bit off because I don't want all that extra hanging on while I'm cutting. So I'm using scalloped edge scissors because they're neat, it's small. I think I've got two pieces of paper, two pieces of card here that I'm cutting through. No, it's one. There we go. So keep all those bits. And here is my 6-inch card. And we're going to mount that onto there. Turn it round. And there is our next card, and I could easily die cut a greeting onto here. But again, you could You could use that for a birthday card, or thinking of you. Doesn't have to be a Christmas card. So that one I'm going to leave blank. So that is card number 2. Right, now I'm going to look at this one. And if you remember, I suggested we possibly used the circle die cut, that we did a rectangular bit on there, and I can see that there's this piece across here. So I'm going to use 1, 2, 3 elements on the next card. Okay, so I've collected some bits together and I've die cut my circle from here. So I've chosen this nice dark blue, and it's got a little sparkle to it. So I'm going to take some glue. A circle, you can't always get double-sided tape to go round nicely, so wet glue is quite acceptable. And again, chop off, I'm going to go round with my fancy scissors, and I'm putting the points of the scissors right on the edge of the die cut. So there we go. Just match up your scissors each time and never go to the end of your scissors. The end of the scissors, you should see they have a straight edge, and that's a safety measure. Now when I come round to here, I just wiggle my scissors a fraction each time so I don't get a nasty double cut at the end. So I'm not fixing it on yet because I want to see how it comes together. So that's onto there. Yes, I have an idea now. Now this was the bottom that I cut off, and I think what I'm going to do is to mount that onto the blue as well. Yep. Double-sided tape is fine for this one because it's a nice straight piece. Yep. A little bit of white there I don't want, and I'm going to do the matching cut. Now I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to have a bit of silver on this one. We'll test it in a minute. Go. So even though that wasn't as long enough, I've now got this extra piece all the way along. There we go. Right, I'm going to go on with Merry Christmas, and we're going to treat that the same way. I've got enough to do that here. This is why it's a good idea to just keep all your scrap bits. You are recycling your cards after all. There we go. So we have Merry Christmas, that one, and I'm quite prepared prepared to put that on there. Oh, okay, so let's have a look what it looks like. And I've got some scraps of silver here. So yeah, I think I'm going to add that there. Right, now we're going to, as this is a recycling bit, right, what I'm going to show you is how to make your bits go further when they won't fit. That obviously is not big enough. Okay, so I'm going to stick that towards that side. Now I want this piece here, which is a good cut that's been done on a guillotine. Okay, so I don't want this to move, so I'm going to put double-sided tape on there, and I'm going to prepare the whole lot. I'm going to take off 2 bits, and I'm going to put that onto there. Okay. And cut that off. Now I'm going to turn it round, take off this next piece, and I'm going to butt this together so that nobody can see the join on here. Okay. And I'm going to cut that off because I need a long piece in a minute. Right, now I'm going to just cut round here. Nobody's going to know that that piece was joined. So now we've got a tiny bit of sparkle all the way around there, and when this is fixed down, nobody will be any the wiser. Make sure Snowman is up the right way. Even though the level of the snow is different, he must be upright, otherwise he'll fall over. Now I'm going to take this bit and go through there, but I'm also wanting to make sure I've got enough for that. So let's place this across. That was well judged. So I'm now going to place that across there, and I want to keep it as close as I can while still seeing some of the silver. There we go, and it still fits on nicely. There we go. Now I'm going to lift that up there, and the Merry Christmas I want to stand up a bit more. So what I'm going to do is to take the sparkle that I've got, double-sided tape, any extra just make sure it presses back in, and I'm going to take that and cut exactly the same all the way round. And remember what I said about keeping all your scraps, because I now want to go back and take this and I'm going to double mount again. So there we go. I'm going to go back to my fancy scissors and I'm trying to cut the same pattern as I had on the previous round. So I'm just moving my scissors so that I'm cutting the same scallops in the right place. Takes a bit of practice, but it's worth doing. Okay, let's get rid of some of my rubbish there. Right, I could do that, but I want to make it a different size, so I'm going to have to go into another piece of sparkle because I haven't got enough left. And I'm doing this so that I've got, oops, that's got to come up. That's better. A slightly bigger sparkle layer. There we go. So now it's a lot bigger than this piece we started off with. And I'm going to take double-sided sticky fixers. I'm going to have a quick tidy up before the next card. Here we go. Now we go with Merry Christmas. There we go. So that's pretty, and I will just add a little bit of crystal sparkle when I finish that off. So there is our next one. Now before we finish on this snowman, I just wanted to show you that on the back was this Christmas wishes. Okay, now these rulers are extremely useful, the ones that have got the grid on it, because you can put your grid along the top of the letters. So there we go. And you can make sure that when you cut it, it's going to be level. Now if I put this along the bottom row, there. Now it's also got lines down. So if I place this along here, I know this is a straight edge. I can come down there and I can line up this edge with my downward lines, and I know now that all of my edges are at right angles. Okay, so do we leave it like that? You can do, or else we can take this one. Now actually this is black, not blue, so I'm going to take this one. This one just says best wishes for Christmas and the New Year. So it's not one that I'd want to put in my list of verses. So this one I'm going to just cut straight edge all round. Now I'm not sure what card I'm going to put this one on, so to leave it with just the black edge is brilliant, because if I put it onto a card that is blue, I can match it. If I put it onto a card that has copper, that will match it. So leave it like that until you know what you want to use it for, but have a little pot in your craft stash that has got your greetings in it that you can just grab at any point. Now we're going to have a look at this one, and if you remember, I mentioned about the lines on the ruler. So if I put this one on, and this was the edge that was commercially cut, if I match that to any of the lines, I can move that up, and I know that that will be a right angle, and I've got the manger in, I've got the bird in, and I think I'm going up a little bit higher that way. Okay, so I know I'm at right angles to that, so I can cut that off at that point. So there is my starting piece for that. I can then line up along that line I've just cut. I can move it backwards and forwards to get exactly what I want. And I'm going to line it up with the side of the P. There. So now I have my beautiful square message. So let's have a look at this one. And I need to cut it a bit shorter on this edge. So I'm placing my line against that. I don't want to interfere with the star. Let's just measure that a minute, and I've got 11 centimetres, almost 11. So I'm going to take a little bit off there, which gives me almost 10 and a half, almost 10 and a half there. I just need to take a small amount, and that has now given me a square. So let's have a look. What I wanted you to see was how you can do these things without the dies if you haven't got them. So there we have that. Now I'm going to do a little trick on this one just to make it different. The star here is quite big. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to cut that star out. So keep turning it so that you're always pulling towards you, and then you've got more control. Here I'm going to be very careful. There's not much space between those. Right, this is a very nifty trick. I may have to go back in and trim a few hairs that will be not cut. So yes. And if I press in, I should have nice clean edges. Now I can see that that one hasn't come out. There we go. So now I have the star. I'm going to take the star, and putting that on there, I can now have a sparkly star on there instead of trying to cut the sparkly star to add on the top. It's now part of the body of the card. So I'm going to go to the corner, and I'm adding a piece there. It's not gone on quite straight. I'm going to go to a different part of the card. I'm going to there we go. Just gives me enough. It's much better. So now I can chop all the way round. So now I have my star peeping through. I'm not sure whether I'm going to use this on the same card. I think I will leave that to one side. This is going to be my next card. What if I look at it on there? This one, if you remember, I'm not keen on the Prosecco bit. So let's take this and I'm cutting that off. Right, I'm going to run out of tape in a minute. Okay, that's on. Here. I'm going to centre that on there, and I've got a tiny little bit there that needs straightening. Right, so now I've used this one as extra bit, and I'm going to go now for a plain silver. Onto there. Right, we've got sparkle that we use to show through the star here, but this is ordinary silver, so I'm going to place that onto there, and I'm going to cut a fancy edge. We're going to go back to black, I think, in a minute, but we'll just test it. Always be prepared to layer your things up so that you can see what they're going to look like. Once you've committed yourself to sticking something down, then it's very difficult to change it. So, quick clear up. Now we're going to have a look at what it looks like onto a black background. That's quite nice, but let's... So this is the blue that I've chosen to match as carefully as I can to this one. And so I'm going to stick that down. You can be more precise with your double-sided tape, but this will stick it down so that I can demonstrate exactly what we're doing. So I'm now going to add that. I'm trying to get it so that there is a very slight white edge left on my card, because I want the white to appear as the last layer. To the side, and if we bring in my card and fold that, hopefully when we put that on there, I've got the white edge, and that is going to bring everything together. So we're starting from white in the middle, right the way out through, bringing the white and the silver, and then back onto white to finish. There we go. So there's where we cut out the star to let the sparkle shine through. White, navy, silver, white, silver, navy, white. Okay, so that is beautiful on its own. Now we're going to have a look at what we've got left here. Okay, it says to me that we need a card going perhaps landscape instead of portrait, and possibly going for a long card. So I'll go and collect some bits together that I think might fit, and we'll take a look at what we do with this one. Right, I've collected a few bits together. This was the same colour as I had on the last card, which we know matched. I've got my white DL card, and I've got some gold on this piece. Right, the last one we went to silver, and I'm hoping that if I show the two together later you can see the difference. So the first thing I'm going to do is to take this one and stick this one on here. When you first look at this, you might think, well, it's not big enough to make a card, but I hope to show you that it is. So I'm going to this top corner to begin with, and I'm just cutting straight edge. Okay. Right, just testing that to make sure I was going to have enough left. Right, the next thing we're going to do is I want a border piece that's going to go right through the middle. So I'm going to take my ruler and using the lines across, I'm going to cut a narrow ribbon of blue. Put that to one side for the moment. I then want to mount it onto the gold. So at the moment I know the length is going to be okay, and I'm going to cut it level with the edge of the card, so not too worried about sizing. So I'm going to take the next one and place it along there, and there we go. Now I've got a tiny border, I'll show you against here. So I'm going edge to edge, and I'm not sure where I'm putting it at the moment, but that is how my card is going to come together. I'm going to trim that a smidgen. Right, I'm now going to go back to my dark blue, and I'm going to add another piece of dark blue onto here, but I'm leaving myself a bit more room because I'm coming back with fancy scissors. And again, putting the points right along the side of the gold. When I turn it round, there's a tiny bit there I need to pull off. When I turn round, I look at what part of the scallop ended there, so that when I put my scissors on, they're cutting the same pattern and the scallops are lined up. So I started with a whole scallop here and finished with a whole scallop there. Right. Keep going back to your original white card because we want to work out how much extra we do. Right, I now know that I need a blue scallop around here to match up. So we'll go that side. I was thinking we'd be going back to gold as well, but I don't think we need to. Now I'm going to leave myself a bit more room, and this time I'm not putting the scissors right against there. I want a bigger border, so I'm just keeping them away a little bit. You can draw a line if you want to help you cut. Yep. Right. So I now have the piece that looked to begin with as though it wouldn't make a card. We now have it nicely fitting on there. And the last thing that I want to do is I'm going to take some very fine peel-offs and I'm decorating that strip just a fraction more. One, two. There. Now, what I wanted to show you as well is, if you look, my peel-offs weren't long enough. So what I'm going to do is to trim that slightly smaller. I can do it so that there's a little bit of white each side, but one of the other tricks is I'm going to put double-sided tape on there first. Yep. Is if I gently fold in half and pinch, I can cut that piece in half. Sorry about that, I just knocked the recording. So I'm now going to line that up there. Take this edge line it up there. Nobody's going to know that that is broken in the middle, and this can either go flat or on sticky fixers. Yep, I'm going to go flat. Now this, because you've added this bit here, it looks as though it's more of a decoration than just a blank piece going through. So I think that's probably as much as I'm going to do on that one. So I'm not going to go on and do all of my cards because that would take up too much of your time. But I will carry on and recycle them. So let's have a quick look through. We took this small piece from there, and instead of one card, we've now made two. Okay, so remember that one was cut out the star. Remember to pull your colours right through. It's no good just cutting out a piece off your Christmas card and mounting it. That is not the spirit of the thing at all. So do put extra time and effort into toning everything together. So that was those two. Remember about the odd bits you get to mount them up. because if you just throw them into a box, that's where they will stay. If you mount them up nicely, you'll be prepared to go and use them. So remember to use dimension so that some of the stuff is lifted up. Remember to use your ruler so that you've got everything nice and level, and the contrast between fancy scissors and straight edges. Okay, even this insignificant piece that was just on the bottom, think about using that. Okay, this one, yes, it was a straightforward square, but it's the colours that are making the difference on this one. Okay. And lastly, we've got this one. Yes, we did die cut, but you could have done it with fancy scissors. Sending you a Christmas wish. I'm not sure that I would leave it like that. I may just put, this one won't fit, but I may just put a smaller greeting over that. But the message is there, sending you a Christmas wish. So I'm sending you a wish for a happier new year, and hope to see you all soon when we can start classes. God bless you.